the Nature Solutions Finance Hub for Asia and Pacific. See, this particular Nature Solution for Finance Hub for Asia and the Pacific, it is the initiative that was brought in with respect to tackling the climate change, providing the natural resources or providing the nature solutions with respect to the climate change. Now, this particular thing was initiated by the Asian Development Bank. The correct answer is the Asian Development Bank. Clear? Next. Now, with reference to investments, consider the following. The first one is the bonds, the hedge funds, stocks and venture capitals. How many of the above are treated as alternative investment funds? First manaki alternative investment funds ante into teliyali. See, alternative investment funds are nothing but those funds which are pulled from private sources, and these funds are invested in the non-traditional or untraditional sources, untraditional avenues. Okay, so manaki ikkada traditional avenues evaithe unnayo avi bonds and stocks. Okay, avi non-traditional kaadu, they are the conservative areas in which the money is invested. So manaki alternative investment funds ani cheppadu kabatti the correct answer is hedge funds and the venture capital. Hedge funds and venture capital. So the correct answer is B, only 2. Clear? Next. Now, which of the following are the sources of income for the Reserve Bank of India? What are the sources of income to the Reserve Bank of India? The first one is buying and selling government bonds. Yes, the Reserve Bank of India purchases the bonds and it sells the bond. When it is selling the bond, obviously the money that is generated, okay, or when it is purchasing the bond, the money will become the income to the, the Reserve Bank of India. So the answer 1 is correct. Buying and selling foreign currency. Yes, Reserve Bank of India is considered as the forex manager. It manages the foreign exchange reserves. So as a consequence of that, even statement 2 is correct. Next, pension fund management. Pension fund management is not done by the Reserve Bank of India. Next, lending to private companies. Obviously, this is bit common sense. Even you use your bit common sense, you know that the Reserve Bank of India doesn't lend money to the private companies. Next, printing and distributing currency notes. See, here there is little ambiguity. Ee point edaithe undo, ee option edaithe undo, dantlo koncham ambiguity undi. Enduku ante, see, when we print the currency, there are 2 values to it. One is the face value, and next is the intrinsic value. Face value and intrinsic value. For example, the note is the 500 rupees note, but the actual cost of the printing or the actual cost of making this particular note is 50 rupees. Now, there is 450 rupees of profit or there is 450 rupees of income to the Reserve Bank of India because of the difference between the intrinsic value and the the face value. So in that way, option 5 is also correct, and the correct answer is 1, 2 and 5, which is option D. Clear? Next. Now, consider the following statements. The Reserve Bank of India mandates all the listed companies in India to submit a business responsibility and sustainable report. First point is that what right does the Reserve Bank of India to ask the companies, whether it is all the listed companies or few of the companies, that is secondary. First the point is that what right does the Reserve Bank of India hold in order to ask the ask for the submission of the business responsibility and sustainable report. It is not the Reserve Bank of India, but it is the SEBI which have the right. Clear? So option 1 is wrong. Next, in India, a company submitting BRSR makes disclosure the report that are largely non-financial in nature. Yes, this is right, because they need to disclose the information. They need to disclose the information which are largely non-financial in nature. Clear? And also remember one thing, here it is given as all the listed companies. It is not all the listed companies, but those companies which are selected, or those, what is a limited number of companies whose market capitalization is more. Only the companies whose market capitalization is more, only those companies were asked to submit this particular report, not all the companies. So the correct answer is statement 1 is wrong, statement 2 is right, answer is B. Clear? Next. Now consider the following. In India, income from allied agricultural activities like poultry farming and wool rearing in rural areas is exempted from tax. Yes, the answer is correct. Okay, next. In India, rural agricultural land is not considered a capital asset. It is not considered a capital asset under the provisions of the Income Tax Act. Under the provisions of Income Tax Act. Now, which one of the following statements is correct in respect to the above statement? The first point is that here we are talking about the capital gain tax. In the statement 2, we are mentioning about the capital gains tax because when you sell the capital asset, there is a certain tax that need to be paid to the government because of you holding the asset and selling the asset. That is what is called as the capital gains tax. Now in the statement 1, we are talking about the income tax. Okay, now let us see the options. Option 1 is both statement 1 and statement 2 are correct and statement 2 explains statement 1. Answer is no. Both statement 1 and statement 2 are correct, but statement 2 does not explain the statement 1. Answer is B. Clear? Both the statements are right, but statement 1 does not explain statement 2. Clear? Next. Now, consider the following statements. India has joined Mineral Security Partnership as a member. As a member. Yes, recently India has joined when the Indian Prime Minister visited USA. We have joined this particular, initiative. Next, India is a resource-rich country in all the 30 critical minerals that it has identified. Manam newspaper ganaka regular ga chadivite just few days before, okay, just 3 or 4 days before newspaper, we have signed an agreement, or we are planning to sign an agreement with the China in order to import the, the critical minerals. Now, when we are signing an agreement in order to import the critical minerals, how can we claim ourselves that we are self-sufficient or we are resource rich with respect to the critical minerals? This statement is wrong. So, now just if you eliminate the statement 2, this is gone, and this is gone. Answer is C. Clear? Next. And even statement 3. The Parliament in 2023 has amended the Mines and Minerals Development and Regulation Act 1957, empowering the central government to exclusively auction. This is right. Now, the central government holds the power to auction the thing with respect to the critical minerals. Okay, answer is C. Next. Now consider the following statements. Statement 1. As regard return from investment in a company, generally bond holders are considered to be relatively at lower risk than stockholders. First of all, we need to know the difference between the bond and stock. Okay. Bond is nothing but, consider I want to start a company. Now I need to borrow money from one source. Now what do I do? I have a bond, I'll sell the bond and I'll borrow the money from the other company. So not company, but one source. Okay. Now the point here is that that particular person is giving the money, but he is not holding any kind of share in my company. Clear? Next, stock is nothing but the share of ownership. I am transferring the share of ownership to one particular person. In return, he purchased my stocks, and as a consequence of that, there is a, the ownership that is divided between different people. Now, taking this explanation as the criteria, second statement, bondholders are lenders to a company, whereas stockholders are its owners. This is right. Third statement, for repayment purpose, bondholders are prioritized over stockholders by a company. The point is that, consider if I am manufacturing particular product, okay, if I am manufacturing particular product, but my company is in losses, my company is running into losses. Now at one point of time I was forced to liquidate my company. It means that I was supposed to sell, or I was supposed to transfer my ownership to the other person, or what is it, let us consider it as liquidating the company. Now in that case what happens is that the first priority should be given to the bondholder. ఓకే, నాట్ టు ది పర్సన్ హూ ఈజ్ హోల్డింగ్ ది ఓనర్షిప్ ఇన్ ది ఫార్మ్ ఆఫ్ స్టాక్స్. అంటే నేను గనక కంపెనీని లిక్విడేట్ చేసినప్పుడు నేను ఫస్ట్ తీర్చవలసిన అప్పు ఏదైతే ఉందో అది బాండ్ హోల్డర్, లేకపోతే నేను నా కంపెనీకి సెటప్ చేయడానికి ఎవరైతే సోర్స్ ఆఫ్ ఇన్వెస్ట్మెంట్స్ ఉన్నారో వాళ్ళ దగ్గర బాండ్ రూపంలో నేను ఏర్పాటు చేసుకున్న ఇన్వెస్ట్మెంట్ వాళ్ళకి ఫస్ట్ నేను అప్పు తీర్చవలసిన అవసరం ఉంది. సో యాజ్ ఎ కాన్సిక్వెన్స్ ఆఫ్ దట్, ఫర్ రీపేమెంట్ పర్పస్ బాండ్ హోల్డర్స్ ఆర్ ప్రయారిటైజ్, దే ఆర్ గివెన్ ది ఫస్ట్ ప్రయారిటీ. Clear? So all these statements are correct. Now when all these statements are correct, one thing that we need to understand is that which statements have the more interconnection. So see statement B, both statement 1 and statement 2 are correct, and statement 1 explains statement 2. Okay, even statement 3 is right, but statement 3 doesn't explain or doesn't supplement the statement 1 and statement 2. So answer is B. Next, consider the following statements. India accounts for very large portion of all equity option contracts traded globally, thus exhibiting a great boom. Now consider, this is bit of more conceptual question. Let us read the all options first and let us then answer the question. Next, India's stock market has grown rapidly in the recent past, even overtaking Hong Kong at some point of time. Okay. Next, there is no regulatory body either to warn the small investors about the risk of option trading or to act on unregistered financial advisors in this regard. Now when there is no regulatory body, obviously it will lead to the economic instability. There need to be a presence of the regulating body for this purpose, and that regulating body here is the SEBI. Okay, now when you eliminate third option, obviously statement option D is eliminated, option 1 is eliminated, and option B is eliminated. Answer is A. Clear? Next, now consider the following statements. Capital receipts create a liability or cause a reduction in the assets of the government. Yes, capital receipts are the receipts that are earned by borrowings, that is one source of earning the capital receipt, and the other source is the disinvestment. Okay, disinvestment is nothing but the government selling off its assets, the government selling off its entities is what is called as the disinvestment. Now that disinvestment is part of the capital receipts. Next, borrowings and disinvestments are capital receipts, this is also right. Next, interest received on loans create a liability of the government. First of all, interest received on the loans, when the government is giving the loan to the any particular entity, and if that particular entity is paying the loan to the government, it is not a liability, it is a revenue. Point number 1. And point number 2 is that part of the revenue is part of revenue receipts, not capital receipts. That part of the revenue which is earned out of the loan that you give in the form of the interest payments is part of revenue receipt. So option 1 and 2 is correct. Clear? Next, consider, now for this you need to have the understanding of the concepts of what is fiscal deficit, or what is revenue deficit, the primary deficit, etc., and also you need to have the formula. Okay, now let us see. Suppose the revenue expenditure is 80,000 crore. Consider, let us keep aside the crore, consider it as 80,000, and the revenue receipts of the government are 60,000. Okay, now revenue expenditure is 80,000, revenue receipt is 80,000, so 60,000, so revenue deficit is 20,000. Okay, the government budget also shows borrowings of 10,000 crore and interest payments of 6,000 crore. Now borrowings are nothing but fiscal deficit. Fiscal deficit is 10,000 and interest payments of 6,000. Now, when we have the value of the interest payments, we can also calculate the primary deficit. What is primary deficit? Primary deficit is equal to fiscal deficit minus interest payments. Now, what is fiscal deficit? 10,000. 10,000 minus 6,000 is equal to 4,000. Okay. Now, see, revenue deficit is 20,000. Yes. Fiscal deficit is 10,000. Right. And the primary deficit that we get after deducting the interest payments from the total fiscal deficit is 4,000. So all the three are correct. Clear? Next. India is one of the founding members of International North-South Transport Corridor, which is considered as INSTC. Okay, a multi-modal transportation corridor which will connect, see the options, India to Central Asia to Europe via Iran, India to Central Asia via China. No. Why will we consider a transport corridor with China? China is already having the One Belt One Road initiative or the BRI, and it is through BRI China is trying to expand its trade. So for China, INSTC is not required. In fact, one of the objectives of INSTC is to counter the economic corridor that is being developed by China. Okay, next. India to Southeast Asia through Bangladesh and Myanmar. No, as part of INSTC, currently the Southeast Asian countries are not included. Next, India to Europe through Azerbaijan. Here the point is that we might get confused between A and D, but Iran is the critical point with respect to INSTC in the form of the Chabahar port. Okay, Chabahar port is one component of the the economic corridor INSTC, and the answer is A. Clear? Next. A country's fiscal deficit stands at 50,000. It is receiving 10,000 crores through non-debt creating capital receipts. Okay, the country's interest liabilities are 1,500. Now, what is the gross primary deficit? First of all, primary deficit is equal to fiscal deficit minus interest payments. What is fiscal deficit? 50,000. What is the interest payment? 1,500. So 50,000 minus 1,500 is equal to 48,500. Answer is A. Very simple question. Clear? Next. See, for that question, first thing you need to understand is that there are 3 or 4 kind of deficit that you need to have the understanding. The fiscal deficit, the revenue deficit, effective revenue deficit, and primary deficit. Okay, at least now the questions are very less asked on the effective revenue deficit, but at least the fiscal deficit, the revenue deficit, and the the primary deficit becomes very, very important. Why? Because we have 2 questions asked on the primary deficit. Next. Which of the following statements with regard to recommendations of the 15th Finance Commission of India are correct? The first one is, it has recommended grants of 4,800 crore from the year 2022-23 to the year 2025-26 for incentivizing states to enhance educational outcomes. Now consider we don't have the data. Consider we have the problem with remembering the data. And how can we remember the data from the 2022 to 2025? Fine. Let us keep this statement aside. Next, 41% of the net proceedings of union taxes are to be shared with states. 41%. Clear? Next, 45,000 crore are to be kept as performance based incentive for all states for carrying out agricultural reforms. See, within this statement, this is a little edited, the editing problem. The question that is given is 45%. As part of our question, that question paper that is given is the 45%. So keep this aside. Next, 45,000 crore are to be kept as performance based incentive for all states for carrying out agricultural reforms. Okay, next, it reintroduced tax effort criteria to reward fiscal performance. Now, within the question paper, the option, the percentage that is given is 45%. It is 41%. Okay, manaki editing problem valla koncham mistake cheyadam jarigindi, but the thing that is given in exam is 45%. The correct answer is 41%. So manaki okka statement ni galaka eliminate cheste, we'll get the answer. Clear? Next. Next, consider the following statements in respect of the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, which is nothing but the World Bank. Okay. Now, it provides loans and guarantees to middle income countries. Fine. It works single-handedly to help developing countries to reduce poverty. Okay. Next, it was established to help Europe rebuild after the World War II. See the very sentence, the reconstruction and development. Okay. Why did we come up with this Bretton Woods institutions after World War II? In order to, what do you say, reconstruct the world, or in order to develop the world or rebuild the world, especially the European countries which have suffered huge financial loss because of the World War. Clear? So the answer is C, 1 and 3 only. 1 and 3 only. Statement 2 is not correct because single-handedly kaadu. There are other institutions also. There are other institutions which work for the reduction of the poverty, or they come up with the poverty alleviation programs. Poverty alleviation programs. Ikkada manaki single-handedly అనేది extreme word ఏదైతే ఉందో అది కాదు. The answer is 1 and 3. Next. Consider the following statements in respect of RTGS and the NEFT, the real-time gross settlement and National Electronic Fund Transfer. In RTGS, the settlement time is instantaneous, while in case of NEFT, it takes some time to settle payments. Instantaneous అనేది ఏదైతే ఉందో మనకి RTGS పేరులోనే ఉంది. Real time అనేది ఏదైతే ఉందో, it means that it is instantaneous. So, answer statement 1 is right. In RTGS, the customer is charged for inward transactions. Why will the customer will be charged for the inward transactions? For example, if one person is sending me the money, once the money is credited into my account, why will there be a deduction of the charges from my account? Obviously, it is the person who is sending me the money should bear the charges. So, there is no inward transactions. There is no charges that are levied on the inward transactions. So statement 2 is wrong. Next. Statement 3. Operating hours for RTGS are restricted on certain days, while there is not true for NEFT. Yes, statement 3 also right. Clear? So answer is 1 and 3. Next. Consider the following countries. Consider the following countries. UAE, France, Germany, Singapore and Bangladesh. Now, how many countries amongst the following there other than India where international merchant payments are accepted under UPI? See, out of the given companies, it is in Germany and it is in Bangladesh, okay, where there are no UPI payments. Within the option that we are given, Germany lo, Bangladesh lo UPI payments levu. So answer is only 3. The other 3 countries, the Singapore, the UAE and the France are allowed with the UPI payments. Clear? Next. So that is with respect to the, what do you say, the key for the economy questions as far as the UPSC Civil Services Prelims examination is concerned. Thank you.